This is what I'm telling you. Don't come over here trying to then guess what? Go do something and come back. Go get cracking and come back.
Yes, sir.
TV superstar, neighborhood star. Come on, man, you look good up here, man. I like the new set.
Man, Nipsey Hussle, man, that's my dear brother right there. Nipsey is he's a South Central legend. He was a businessman. He was a leader, a teacher, a father, an entrepreneur. Nip Hussle, aka Go Get It, at the speed of a marathon, taking his time, going down the line to find.
Nipsey's passing, his brother Blacc Sam hasn't stayed quiet. He's been calling out rappers he feels are disrespecting Nipsey's legacy. Shocking, even Snoop Dogg's name has been thrown into that conversation. From switching up stories to hanging around Big U, the same man many whisper had ties to the tragedy. Snoop's moves got people side-eyeing him hard. For someone who always claimed it was nothing but love for Nipsey, his actions and alliances are telling a whole different story. Blacc Sam, born Samuel Asghedom, has always been more than just Nipsey Hussle's older brother. He was the shield, the money brain, the one making sure their family dream didn't just sound good in interviews, but could actually hold weight in real life. He wasn't just behind Nipsey, he was beside him every step of the way. Together, they built the Marathon clothing brand, a store that was way more than just racks of merch. It was a bold statement that ownership mattered, that Black entrepreneurs could plant roots right in the same neighborhoods that had been scarred by decades of struggle and survival. Nipsey gave the world his voice, dropping street knowledge and motivation through his music, while Blacc Sam played the chess game in silence. He made sure every deal was smart, every investment stretched further than rap, and that their empire could stand long after the spotlight faded. Known as the silent force of the Marathon, he never chased fame. He only cared about protecting Nipsey's vision and making sure the dream stayed alive forever. Nipsey was free to dream wild because Sam handled the paperwork, the contracts, the deals, the headaches that could slow the grind. Nipsey even admitted multiple times that without Sam, legendary moves like the Proud to Pay campaign or buying up real estate in Crenshaw would have never happened. That's why, when it comes to Nipsey's legacy, Blacc Sam's word holds serious weight. It's not just respected, it's law. Sam isn't just blood. He's the gatekeeper of Nipsey's entire vision. Every collaboration, every partnership, every handshake goes through him because he knew Nipsey better than anyone else. He knew his goals, but also his limits. He knew exactly who Nipsey trusted and who needed to be kept far away. That's why whispers about Sam no longer rocking with Snoop Dogg hit the community like a shockwave. This wasn't just messy rumor talk. It felt like confirmation something real had cracked.
You knew Nipsey Hussle personally. You knew he had nothing but love for every gang member from Southern California. I don't care what neighborhood you was from.
Because when Sam distances himself, it's never random. It means a line was crossed that can't be erased. And for people close to the streets, that says more than words ever could. This wasn't about ego or fame. It was about loyalty, the most valuable currency in Los Angeles street culture. The trigger? Snoop Dogg making the choice to publicly align himself with someone Nipsey had made it clear he wanted separated from.
Making music together, we ended up making a brotherhood. We ended up creating a bond. We created something that...
That's why it stung so bad. And here's where it gets tricky. Because Snoop and Nipsey weren't just industry cool, they were like family. Snoop called himself Nipsey's uncle. They rocked stages together, sat down for interviews, and had those deep private talks only real ones share. So when Nipsey was ended in 2019, Snoop was one of the loudest voices mourning him, delivering a heartfelt speech at the funeral that painted Nipsey as a king gone too soon. But now, with the fallout rumors swirling, that tribute feels a lot more complicated. Snoop painted himself not just as Nipsey's peer, but as a mentor figure, and fans felt it. That moment seemed raw, real, like Snoop truly had love and respect for Nipsey. And for a while, even Blacc Sam seemed to embrace that bond. Right after the funeral, Sam personally pulled up on Snoop, handing him Marathon merch and souvenirs as a gesture of respect. It was his way of saying that we see you and we appreciate what you said for Nip. For a brief moment, it looked like the Hussle family and Snoop stood united, holding each other down through the pain. But that picture-perfect unity didn't last long, because things started to shift once Sam caught sight of Snoop's new associations. Out of nowhere, Snoop began showing up next to Big U, a name that carries heavy baggage in Nipsey's story. Big U, government name Eugene Henley Jr., wasn't just any figure. He was once Nipsey's manager and a powerful force in the Los Angeles streets. But over time, their bond fractured. Business disagreements, clashing visions, and too much bad blood to ever patch up. Word is, Nipsey distanced himself from Big U on purpose, even dropping a diss track aimed at him after a dispute over studio equipment at Big U's shop exploded into violence and pulled the cops into the mix.
Take off on Nip, and Fats took off on Big U and set him on his pockets in front of everybody. A week later, Fats was out of here.
From then on, Nipsey made sure there was space between them. To make it worse, Big U's reputation only got darker. Federal investigations painted him as a street boss running an operation that looked like a mafia-style enterprise. And in early 2025, he was indicted under the RICO Act for charges as wild as extortion, fraud, and even homicide. For years, rappers whispered about his infamous check-in rule, where artists were expected to clear their presence through him whenever they touched down in LA. Now, with those indictments, those whispers sound a lot more real. That whole check-in system Big U was known for? Many in LA called it nothing but extortion dressed up as street politics. He even had a podcast titled Check-In. And guess who pulled up as a guest? Snoop Dogg. Meanwhile, Nipsey had made his stance crystal clear. He wanted nothing to do with that culture. Reports say he even stopped paying Big U for so-called protection, a bold move that some believe added even more tension and might have played into the dangerous circumstances surrounding his passing. So when Snoop was seen embracing Big U for photos, sitting for interviews, treating him like a partner, it left fans stunned. On top of that, rumors claimed Snoop was helping boost Big U's power in the industry. To Nipsey's supporters, that looked like a slap straight across his memory, intentional or not. For many, it felt like betrayal, and the silence from Blacc Sam only made the whispers louder. Everyone who knew Nipsey knew he had his reasons for cutting Big U off. So for Sam, this wasn't about bad optics. This was about loyalty, and to him, it reeked of betrayal. Sam's distrust of Big U wasn't something small, it ran deep. Even when Nipsey once tried to smooth things over and temporarily squash the beef, Sam refused to buy it. He didn't care how the streets framed the piece. He saw Big U as a threat, never an ally. And Sam's feelings weren't baseless, because one of the darkest chapters tied to Big U was the passing of Nipsey and Sam's close childhood friend, Stephen Fats Donaldson. Fats wasn't just a homie, he was family, part of the inner circle that held Nipsey down since day one. But in 2017, tragedy hit when Fats was ended in a drive-by shooting.
Man, this look remind me so much of you. Yeah. But he different. I'm like, he don't remind me of me. He different than me.
Immediately, the streets buzzed with whispers pointing fingers back at Big U. The chilling rumor that Fats had pressed Big U after hearing he was applying pressure on Nipsey, and just a week later, Fats was gone. For Blacc Sam, that wasn't coincidence. It was a line that could never be erased. To Blacc Sam, none of it looked like coincidence. Even though nothing was ever officially proven, the timing around Fats' homicide and the shady circumstances planted a seed of suspicion that never died. In Sam's eyes, Big U's presence was poison, something that could only damage Nipsey's vision and stain the family's legacy. And fans picked up on it too. Online forums, comment sections, even block gossip all circled back to the same debate. Were the rumors true, but too dangerous to be spoken out loud? For a lot of supporters, Sam's cold stance toward Big U wasn't about grudges, it was about protection. Protection rooted in loyalty to Nipsey and to the memory of Fats. And imagine standing in Sam's shoes. You watched your brother fight tooth and nail to build independence, carefully deciding who deserved to stand beside him. Then after his passing, one of the people calling himself family is suddenly smiling up with the same man your brother made sure to keep at a distance, and who the streets whispered might have played a role in tragedy. At that point, it didn't matter that Snoop gave a moving eulogy. It didn't matter that he once called Nipsey his nephew while dubbing himself Uncle. Loyalty isn't measured by sweet words at a funeral. It's measured by what you do after the casket is closed. And in Sam's eyes, Snoop's actions screamed louder than any tribute. This wasn't about hip-hop politics or business moves. It was personal. Nipsey had already drawn the line while he was alive, and Sam was determined to guard that boundary after his passing. So if Snoop chose to cross it, then Sam had no reason to keep honoring him with respect. That's where the silent fracture began between Blacc Sam and Snoop Dogg. And here's what made it even more obvious. In the years following Nipsey's passing, Snoop spoke Nip's name constantly in interviews. paying tribute as if nothing had changed. But Blacc Sam, he stayed quiet, barely ever acknowledging Snoop's words, rarely engaging at all. And fans noticed. Because when someone once so close suddenly stops responding, that silence usually means something much deeper has shifted. Fans don't believe Blacc Sam's silence was random. It felt deliberate, like he was pulling all the way back from Snoop. And then came the moments that made it louder. Snoop popping up in interviews with Big U, laughing, vibing, even bumping Nipsey's music while sitting right beside him. To the outside, those weren't casual link-ups. They were statements. Social media lit up instantly. Comments flew in saying, Snoop looks more comfortable with Big U than the Marathon crew, and he's clearly choosing sides. For a lot of fans, this was the boldest sign yet that Snoop was prioritizing his relationship with Big U over respecting Nipsey's values. And if Snoop was siding with the very man Nipsey separated himself from, then Blacc Sam had every reason to question what that meant for his brother's memory. Because one thing about Sam, he never allowed disrespect on Nipsey's name, not even a little. Nipsey was a visionary who warned about the dangers of aligning with the wrong people. He spoke on how fame could blur loyalty and why ownership was the only real freedom from manipulation. That's why he pulled away from Big U in the first place. It wasn't petty, it was principle. He knew his empire had to be built on independence, and anything less meant compromise. Nipsey even addressed it in his music, most notably in his diss track, You Don't Got a Clue. In that record, he spits, I built this on my own and everybody know it's true. Still dudes act like they're supposed to have control of what I do. Those bars weren't just lyrics, they were a blueprint. And Blacc Sam more than anyone understood that conviction. So even after Nipsey's passing, Sam stayed on guard. At the Marathon Burger grand opening, a moment meant to celebrate Nipsey's vision of community-based entrepreneurship, drama tried to steal the spotlight. Widely shared videos show Blacc Sam clashing with a man identified as Rockstar 2800, a member of the West Boulevard Crips out of Crenshaw. Reports say Rockstar walked into the event uninvited, and Sam wasted no time making it clear he wasn't welcome. It wasn't just a battle of words either. Clips online captured the raw tension. Sam stood face-to-face with Rockstar 2800, his energy firm, direct, and no nonsense, showing the world that even in celebration, he was ready to protect Nipsey's legacy at all costs. One post on social media summed it up perfectly. Blacc Sam really lost his brother. You think he playing with anybody? Leave that man alone and let him run his business. Continue his brother's legacy. Makes me sad he had to deal with this on a big day. He didn't need that negative energy. Nothing but respect for standing up for Nip and keeping the vision alive. That comment captured the mood of the streets. Sam wasn't there for games. He was there to protect what mattered. On Reddit's r/CaliBanging, a user laid it out plain. Rockstar 2800 from West BLVD Crips got pressed and kicked out of the Marathon Burger grand opening by Blacc Sam and Boss Hogg from Rollin' 60s. Rockstar used to be cool with Nip, but now he's running with Wack 100, and we all know the kind of rumors Wack spread about Hussle. Another user added fuel, clowning the scene. Every time I see Blacc Sam, he's standing on it. Dude thought he was about to buy some tickets. Sam hit him with, pardon my back. Sam a real one. Fans didn't see it as just security doing their job. This was symbolic. It was Sam drawing a hard line, showing the world that the Marathon legacy wasn't up for negotiation or dirty alliances with people Nipsey had intentionally cut off. In that moment, Blacc Sam looked exactly like what people already believed him to be, the guardian of Nipsey's empire. Protective, defensive, unapologetically firm in making sure nobody crossed the boundaries Nip had set. And that's where the tension with Snoop stings even more. Because siding with Big U tied Snoop to the politics of LA streets and power moves, while siding with Sam meant standing for independence, community-driven business, and the exact values Nipsey built the Marathon on. To fans, Snoop's choice looked intentional, and it tilted toward the wrong side. That interpretation lit the fire behind the silent fracture between him and Blacc Sam. And here's where things get even messier. Snoop's legacy in hip-hop is stamped forever, but when you dig into his past, especially his history around Tupac, Death Row, and Suge Knight, people have been raising eyebrows for years. The fracture with Sam gains even more weight when you remember the controversies that never fully left Snoop's name. Over and over, fans have accused him of shifting loyalties, rewriting narratives, and playing both sides when it benefited him most. Plenty of fans point to Snoop's stories about Tupac as the clearest example of his shaky loyalty. In one interview, he claimed he and Pac had reconciled right before Pac's passing, but in other retellings, the details shift, leaving people scratching their heads. Which version is real and which one is just image control? The inconsistencies made it harder and harder to separate truth from PR spin. Napoleon from the Outlaws even called Snoop out directly, saying Snoop throws slick shade at Pac. Act like they praising Pac, but they're putting him down. To him, Snoop was subtly dimming Pac's light while still trying to cash in on his legacy. That's a heavy accusation, and fans felt the sting of it. Then there's Suge Knight, who turned the drama up another notch. Suge has straight up accused Snoop of being an informant and even questioned his whereabouts the night Pac was gunned down in Vegas. He claimed Snoop had inside info, almost like a play-by-play, but wasn't rolling with Pac's crew when it mattered most. Years later, Suge doubled down again, accusing Snoop of trying to help Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the man now charged in Pac's homicide because Keefe was supposedly talking too much. Snoop, of course, denied all of it, brushing off Suge's words as nothing but bitterness, especially after Snoop gained control of Death Row Records. But the problem? These inconsistencies just kept stacking up. One of the most famous examples is when Snoop claimed Pac was the first one to ever hand him a blunt. Sounds cool, right? But the timeline doesn't add up. By the time Snoop met Pac, he was already 21 and knee-deep in smoking culture. Even actress Cameron Diaz once admitted she bought weed off Snoop back in high school. So how could Pac be the one to introduce him to blunts? Fans called cap on that quick, and moments like these made people question how much of Snoop's Pac stories were authentic and how much was polished-up myth-making. Another shaky story came when Snoop claimed he personally urged Suge Knight to bail Pac out of prison, saying Pac's safety was at risk behind bars. But Napoleon, who was actually visiting Pac regularly while he was locked up, shut that down quick. According to him, Pac was respected inside, making friends, taking photos, and never once saying he felt unsafe. Sure, Pac wanted out like anyone would, but Napoleon swore it had nothing to do with Snoop pulling strings. Then there's the infamous 1996 MTV Video Music Awards, the night Pac crossed paths with Nas. Snoop later painted the scene like it was a dangerous standoff. Nas rolling in with 100 Queens shooters, Pac wilding out, and Nas choosing to spare them out of mercy. Sounds cinematic, right? But people who were actually there tell a completely different story. Napoleon insists Pac and Nas were cool, respectful even. They chopped it up, squashed the tension, and Pac promised to take Nas's name out of his diss tracks once he got back to LA. A promise he never lived long enough to keep. And the wildest part? Napoleon doesn't even remember Snoop being there. Nas himself later confirmed Snoop's retelling wasn't accurate at all. All of this makes the picture around Snoop look complicated. Maybe too complicated. Whether it's his Pac stories, his ties to Suge, or his role in the Death Row saga, fans say a pattern keeps showing up. Snoop reshaping history. Sometimes it feels like simple embellishment, other times like straight-up damage control. And when you stack that history next to his recent embrace of Big U, the parallels get hard to ignore. To some, it feels like Snoop's mastered the art of bending loyalty, rewriting narratives, and doing whatever it takes to protect his own image, even if it shakes the truth in the process. For Blacc Sam, this was never just industry drama. It was about preserving a legacy. Nipsey's values weren't only about business, they were built on loyalty, independence, and uplifting the community. Years before his passing, Nipsey had already distanced himself from Big U, making it clear he didn't align with that chapter. So when Snoop, who once called Nipsey his nephew, chose to publicly embrace the opposite path, it felt like a fracture in the very memory Sam was sworn to protect. And Sam, he's never been the type to run to social media or blast people in interviews. His strength has always been letting actions speak louder than words. That's why his silence towards Snoop hit so heavy. It wasn't empty, it was intentional. Since Nipsey's passing, Sam has taken charge of everything his brother left behind, from expanding the Marathon clothing brand to locking in real estate deals Nip once dreamed of. He's ensured Nipsey's kids and family remain secure. Beyond that, he's invested in fresh community projects, making sure Nipsey's mission still breathes on the streets of Crenshaw. But what we don't see anymore? Collaboration with Snoop. The bond that once looked solid now feels like distance. Where there was once brotherhood, there's silence. Where we used to see them side by side, now there are only separate paths. And while fans may have hoped to see Snoop continue standing with the Asghedom family, it's become clear that Blacc Sam has chosen to protect Nipsey's vision without him. Because for Sam, loyalty to Nipsey comes before any alliance, no matter how iconic the figure might be. That's the line, and he's guarding it with everything he has. What do you think? Was Snoop out of line linking up with Big U, or is Blacc Sam being too firm? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe, share this with your people, and I'll catch you on the next one.